Hi, everybody.
Oh, they won't be on. They won't be on for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, but then when it's a replay.
Oh yeah. I think the replay
starts now.
Does it?
It does.
Oh, my glasses are crooked.
You're in like Gandalf mode today.
Gandalf.
Like, Lord of the Rings.
Oh, you want me to put my hair down? It's too crazy. Can't do that. Oh man, what a trip. What a trip. I mean, it's amazing.
Completely amazing.
It's like every day is from the moment you get up. It's everything. It's just like all these different things, and they're not even alike. They're just so multiple. There's such a multiplicity to.
Then when it's a replay.
Oh yeah. There you go. What was that? So we got a few people. 1 minute and 11 seconds. 27 people in the house. Hung Nguyen is in the house. She has graced us with her presence.
Oh, good. We need heckling. We need appropriate heckling to keep us humble.
Yes. And welcome to the July 12th, 2021 first show of the day. Yeah, I like your hair too.
Thank you. I chopped it all off.
I said that from the deepest place of sincerity, and Hung is just blowing smoke up your ass. So, I just want to say it's good to see you again. I'm happy that you're on again after 2 weeks. And there is a lot of stuff going on, and you have this cosmology and other things, by the way. You're not just defined to the specificity of your knowledge of cosmology. You have a lot more than that to offer, so it's always good to have you here.
Thanks, Todd.
Yes.
It's always great to be here. Today, we chose today's date, June 12th, 2021, when you asked me what date I wanted to come back on, because today, Mars and Venus are together in the sky. There's a conjunction of Mars and Venus. And
Mars and Venus?
Mars and Venus.
Mars and Venus.
Mars and Venus
are conjuncting right now.
Right now, as we speak, as we code.
Holy fuckamole, man. No wonder. No wonder this is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the that unity point of. So what I've seen, or what we started at the last time I was on, I'll pick up where we kind of left off, and you're like, we got to talk about this at this other show. So
yes.
Is so in June, so one of my roles as a gatekeeper is every time there's an astronomical alignment, meaning like things that meet up, light beams that meet up in the sky, planets, moons, stars, suns, eclipses, solstices, there's an aperture opening a gateway where a lot of knowledge, content, light codes, star codes are like that extra source flows our way.
That's from the conjunction?
Just in general. To me, so like the star things, the things that happen in the sky.
So are they? Would you say that they're amplifying, like every time Sirius comes by, like it did? What was it, the 7th or the 11th or something?
Yeah,
that just happened. We just came out of that too.
Well, we're
But would you say that so like for instance, every time that once a year when Sirius comes out, or let's just say every time Mars and Venus are in conjunction, that whatever that celestial constellation or body or bodies are, that they're amplifying their particular soul signature, so to speak, like their particular persona or energy?
Well, yeah, so that it's not just human beings that are ascending or our planet that's ascending. The solar system and all the planetary bodies are ascending simultaneously. So I feel like every year, we pass the cycles of time, and things are just expanding, overlaying, and we get this. This is how ascension happens. Like it's from the alignments and the source light that flows to our planet. And really our role or job is to be these conduits, these anchor points, to use our awareness to conduct some of these new Earth light codes onto the planet, into the crystalline grids at this time. So June and July have been very, very active for sure. I feel like we moved into them.
Is that what you call June and July?
Yeah. Well, there's been like lots of, like you said, it's been back to back gateways. It's like all on.
No,
so it's really hard to even discern like what's from what and what's from where.
Exactly.
So I think each one of us have awareness points that we're called to pay attention to, like soul callings. So for me, some people are more in the, over here doing that thing, and some of us are over here doing this thing, and then we are all bringing in little pieces of the puzzle. Yeah. So one of the puzzle pieces that I have to share today is how when the planets move through so there are a lot of different gateways. So Stargate, and I wanted to share. I'll start with my self-promotion at the front. So if people go to my website, which is Inner Space Voyages, I'll pop it on here.
I'm going to put it on.
I have a lot of this like outlined and in a follow along at home fashion. How do I do that?
InnerSpaceVoyages.com.
Yeah.
Okay. I just put it on all platforms.
Thank you.
Boom.
So I have one of my taglines is grid work and gatekeeping. So if people want to check that out, underneath there, I have a lot about those two things, grid work and gatekeeping. So Stargates mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So this little section that we're talking about today is an astronomical alignment type of Stargate, like conjunctions and alignments of the planetary bodies. And so when the sun and the planets, they all move in a predictable path across the sky. We've talked about this before, the ecliptic. So on their pathway, they go through different constellations, different signs, houses, depending who you want to, astrologically. So right now, that period you were talking about where the Sirius and the sun were together is like a certain alignment of where the sun goes. In the constellation of Cancer, there is a cluster, a star cluster called the Beehive cluster. So the Beehive cluster is clusters are stars that are born together and kind of hang out together like a star neighborhood. And so what I've noticed with Mars, so on June 13th, the crescent new moon moved past the Beehive cluster. And on June 23rd, 22nd, Mars moved through the Beehive cluster. And then July 2nd and 3rd, Venus moved past or through the Beehive cluster. And what I observed energetically from that happening is I kept seeing the shape of a beehive, like not a rectangular human built one, but if bees were to build a beehive in the tree, you know how they're like orby? Mm-hmm. They're like layers, right? Yeah. And so that shape kept coming to me, showing itself to me, and more in the, so it's the as above and below, that like it goes out and in that beehive, natural beehive. And I do have a picture on my blog if people.
It's kind of, if you think about it, a beehive's kind of like, even though it's solid, like a toroidal. It's got that inner, and then it's got the. So what you're saying is Venus just went through a beehive, got stung several times. She's pissed, and that energy is coming on the.
I'm absolutely not saying that.
I'm joking.
So what kept showing to me is the shape. So it came to me as like like if you draw an outline around a beehive, it could show up as a tetrahedron, which is it's a pyramid comprised of 4 triangles. Right. So it's not like a pyramid like in Egypt, because that's a square base with 4 triangular sides. This is a 4-sided triangular pyramid.
Okay. Wait a minute.
Tetrahedron.
Okay. So a tetrahedron is not a pyramid.
It is a pyramid. It's a triangular pyramid. But the Giza pyramids, the Egyptian pyramids, are not tetrahedrons.
What are they?
They're
3-sided
square pyramid. They're 4-sided.
And what is a tetrahedron?
The base of it is a triangle. So those Egyptian pyramids are, the base of it's a square.
So
and then you add
base of a tetrahedron is a triangle.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
So this is like the basic building block of life, if you will. Like H2O, water molecules bond in this shape. In a tetrahedron, it's a very base. So what I'm conducting or gatekeeping this year is, and last too, is how the light body gets a geometric kind of upgrade with the star clusters. So my supposition theory is that this year, when Venus and Mars both went through the beehive cluster, they took on this tetrahedron shape or phase of their light body as a planet. Does that make sense? And then, so what I'm seeing now is when Mars and Venus come together, they're activating their planetary Merkabas. So the Merkaba is the.
So they're actually, there's actually a unification to that.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like, so if you had a cube and you can draw a tetrahedron on the vertices of the cube, so you'd have this like sitting in a cube, right? And then you can draw another one, and that's what some people call Metronon's cube, or it's the same shape as the Merkaba. So the intertwining of the two tetrahedrons of Mars and Venus, and I'll talk about, so the general, like there's two flows of energy in the universe. It's either going outward or drawing in, right? So the drawing in energy is how we receive, and star codes, light codes, solar energies, drawing in. And some might say that's more feminine. So some might equate that with Venus. The other energy is an expanding outward radiant energy of giving off, transmission, giving out codes, sending out light, becoming a beacon, a lighthouse. And some might equate that with more of the masculine flow, the outward expansion, and some might equate that more with Mars. And
which is,
the two coming together now is like that balance point, the 0 point, the unity of Mars, Venus, outward, inward.
Yeah, there must be something to this, because I don't draw things, and I drew this. I don't know if you can see it, but
I can see it, dude.
It's an octahedron. I got this vision. I wrote it down about 5 days ago. Then yesterday, I had this thing happen with involving the same energy, and then my friend, she had two visions. They were exactly alike, and I was in it, and it was the same type of thing going on. There was a triangle, or I guess it would have been, well, whatever. Yeah. I don't know if it was like the pyramid or the tetrahedron.
Well, in two dimension, like if you do flat, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's just a triangle.
That's what I mean. So it was like a triangle, but the triangle had a circle around it, like the all container kind of thing. The triangle was formed. When I saw it, I understood that to be the feminine. Like she had created herself in the space of her omnipresence. And then within the circle, outside of the triangle, was an upside down triangle with just three dots. And then they merged. And when they merged fully, and I saw the dots being her creating her divine consort, basically, the creator, the out, right? Yeah. And then when it went in, that was when the new creation was born. Right, that was conception. Right, it was really trippy. It was like a 369 thing too. I don't understand. Yeah, anyway, I just think that's kind of worth mentioning, so that was because
that you drew that.
That was what the one I did this one I think was Friday or probably like Saturday morning, because I'm staying up till 6 every day, but the other thing happened yesterday.
It's been on fully this weekend. And you mentioned, I don't know what you mentioned that sparkled Tesla in the field, but Tesla's birthday was Saturday, July 10th.
Okay.
So like the Tesla consciousness.
Well, and I'm telling you, when I saw that that thing, there was something that said to me 369, and I don't know if it was the circle. Well, no. Okay, so you had the circle, which is, let's say, creation, and then the triangle was formed. That's a 3. Mm-hmm. The other one with the dots was formed from the 3. It was a 6, and when they came in together, because I remember when they came in together and the thing happened, it was like exponential. It was like 9s, right?
Yes.
So it was like 3, 6, and I thought, that's weird. Why am I looking at this and going 369? And then when you said what you said, I thought, oh my God,
it's the code. That's the codes clicking. Like almost like they dial in and kind of click in. Like remember when you were in school, you had the lockers, right? Who knows what they have these days, right? But you had to like dial in the combination code and like unlock so these codes flow in and they click these awarenesses within each of us. Like we get that. Because people ask me all the time, well, like, so Venus and Mars are conjuncting. What does that mean to me? Like, why should I care about that? And, the answer is really, you don't have to care about it. Those of us that do care.
But it sounds like a very positive unification, because in this moment, everything's amplified. So it sounds like a very positive, like the click. That was a good way to put it. Like everything went click. Like when I saw that dotted triangle go into the other triangle fully. How did that work? Anyway, when the third energy was produced, it was like, it was like I don't even know how to explain it. It was like a bunch of pyramids went out.
It has that, and that's the like the nesting dolls, or like the pyramids going out, or like that. If you've ever seen pictures of the Metronon's cube or the Metronon's, it's like.
So you're talking about like, like those old cameras, like the old Polaroids, and you would pull them out, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like a little accordion looking thing. That's what it looked like to me. It looked like if it was just say one stream of it, a pyramid came out, snapshot, pyramid came out, and it was like it was kept going. It was a ray, but they were all like separate. From each other, but not. It was weird.
But that's like even, like a wormhole Stargate pathway is like how it shows up geometrically encoded like that too, in that clicking moment. So I wanted to say that so each of us have one of these star tetrahedron light body activations or phases. We call it the Merkaba, right? And the Merkaba clicks on or turns on for each one of us individually. But the planet that we live on, the Earth, also has a Merkaba, as does Venus, as does Mars. So what I've really been shown to me with today's alignment, and it's not just today, obviously, it builds up and then it wanes, but it's this planetary Merkaba getting activated in each of us. Like it happens in us, but then it also happens. So if you take in this circle that you talked about, inscribing either the two up and down triangles. So those points where the 6-pointed star touch the circle that you inscribed it in, those points are planetarially pretty active too. A lot of this was done. So this weekend too, Metatron James Tiburon, he's like up in your Arkansas. Do you know him? He's James Tiburon. He's since passed away, but he was a channel.
Oh, he has.
Metatron.
Okay. And, I've heard the name. I must have listened to a video.
So I've listened to his channels for a lot through the years, but they come and go, information comes and goes. But he was super, super broadcasting loud this weekend too. And all this, one of the things he brought through was the planetary Merkaba.
Okay, so what do you mean he was broadcasting loud?
Oh, I was paying it to me in my own head.
Okay, no, I'm with you. I just wanted to clarify. Okay. Yeah.
Because I was like, how does one download these kind of information? Like, how do we get these callings or these soul things? How does this information come in? I feel like that's maybe.
So you were in the flow of your day. You were tapping in. You were connecting to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And
that's big information. She froze. She'll come back. Isn't that cool though? You can have a conversation and somebody's telling you where they got the information from very openly, without any self-consciousness. that they got it basically through our Akashic network. She's she's froze up. Hang on, let me send her a note.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. You're back.
I'm back. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to send you a note.
I couldn't tell if you were gone or I was there the whole time, but
yeah, well,
that's the stream like the coming in.
But here's the thing. You started to say it, and as soon as you started to say it, you froze. So that tells me that it was very important. So you might want to go back to it. So you're talking about this Tiberan.
How the pieces of the puzzle come to each one of us to weave them together, and then as like one of my soul callings is to put a lot of these pieces together and to share them with you all. And so thank you so much for having me here. It's yesterday I came into Inner Space to like write up my blog post, and I just wasn't like on the planet, like linear typing it or like video wasn't available, but I was in heavy receiver mode of like all the different pieces and parts. So one of the things that I was going to say, I think when I got interrupted, is that the piece that I connected with most strongly is the Planetary Merkaba. There was something about the Mars and the Venus, this conjunction that we're having today, that is going to click on the planetary Merkabas in a new way. And do I exactly know what that means? No, but we can all see it and sense it and feel it even as I say it, right? So the Planetary Merkaba, if you were to put this shape and inscribe it into the sphere of the Earth, the places where these things would touch are on the 19.5 degree latitudes of the planet. So on Venus, some of the major volcanoes are at that latitude on that planet. On Mars, Olympus Mons is close. That's the largest volcano in the solar system that we know of, is at that latitude. Hawaii is at that latitude, and the volcano there on our Earth. So it has this like planetary grid, planetary Merkaba, activate in a new way, lots of ascension codes, unified field, crystalline grid, moving into unity and moving out of duality.
I like this.
This is what I think is going on today.
The other thing I like about it too, that's I'm telling you, since Sedona, all the shows and everything throughout the day is like all coming together, like things are converging. But another thing that came up besides this whole bandwidth of triangles, pyramids, tetrahedrons, and the third 369 Tesla is fire. Like, so when you're talking about volcanoes, I'm thinking fire, and all I've been seeing is Anubis and Cali for the last few weeks. Wow. And it just seems like that what you're describing now, it's almost like union by fire. Like, you know what I mean? It's almost like you're going to the wedding, what do you call it? The altar, and you both walk through fire together to get there or something. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And it's a switching, maybe the fire of alchemy. And like you need the high heat to create that melding, the merging, the welding, if you will. The other thing that came through, and as you said that, I'm not sure why I'm remembering this now, but I think we all have this idea of Mars being the more masculine and Venus being the more feminine. And it has not been coming through that way to me at all. Venus is the fire planet, is the hotter planet. And to me, Mars has been coming through as the water world. You know, Mars has all this ice. It's like, well, Mars is the more, can you even feel the difference? Mars and Venus. Oh, I think speaking of feeling, so I have, do you want to do some sound? We can talk about this all day, but I brought out I have a planetary set of tuning forks that are tuned to the planets.
Man, how do you like know all these things? I know, I'm just messing with you. Don't answer the question. I know. I like to mess with you. No, this is great. This is New Earth TV right here, folks. I mean, this is the type of information and that's going to be coming out more.
Our information, we're all writing a page in the living library of light or chapters. And what your chapter is to write is your soul's, your soul calling, right? You have your chapter to write. I have mine. I guess this is my section of chapter, but there's that. So supporting each one of us to find that place inside where the unity happens, So to transcend duality, we can look in any direction and see polarity and duality, like all over the planet, right? And you were talking
You're
about
kidding.
why is
It's been hard. It's been hard to find any polarities lately.
Has it?
I was thinking the same. Hell to the F no. I bet you I'm doing a polarity every 2 minutes on average.
Well, it's part of what I read from the Metatron channels. I wanted to even maybe read it to you if you wanted.
Yeah, check this out too. That's what I was thinking when you said that, and not to like, oh, this is what happened, but she said pole reversal, role reversal, and that just popped in my head right when you were talking about that Mars isn't, it's just like us, that they're both masculine and feminine, right? And you're saying at different times, different things are more prominent. And I agree with you. I think this Mars thing, Venus, the role reversal, pole reversal, or whatever, is another good sign, because you see that happening here, right?
So I'm going to read this is from the Metatron channel. Certain codes, certain frequencies are being uploaded. New chakra systems, new light body essences. We have shifted from a magnetic grid to a crystalline grid. Upshift to 12D. The magnetic grid is polar, plus and minus duality, north pole, south pole, anionic and catatonic aspects. That's just plus or minus charge. 3D is controlled in a polarity way, duality. And we're at the phase where we learn to consciously create in Eden. In the magnetic grid, every person. So in the magnetic grid, we're female or male, right? But here we're moving into the crystalline grid is non-duality and allows us to move into higher dimensions through our pineal gateways. And every person is neither male or female. We're both. We are that merged state.
Did he write this? Did he channel this?
Yeah, he channeled.
So this was years ago. He channeled this.
Yeah, right? In 2014.
Okay, so I mean, that's so appropriate. It's so apropos, it really is, because that's what I was, when you said that, and to her comment earlier, Candace's, and because I've lived this in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
Because I've been in a relationship when we were, physically together during that time. There was a lot of that energy going on, which we knew. And I've always known, as the individual goes, so goes the collective. So this is almost like a snapshot of what's happening, or at least what's potentially can happen. I guess in theory, to anyone, it's there. Right?
Yeah, and we unpack it in layers in different times. Like the energies, like to me, this summer, what's happening is very much the seeds that we planted in 2019. And that's an overlay, like the freedom codes and the things that were happening, even earthquakes in California, right? Or like different freedom codes. I had my whole experience of another layer working with Boston and the light cities within or above Boston. And but then we go back and like a lot of the things that were written in 2016 are appropriate to now. The 2014 channels, like it's like we're in these phases of reworking from a higher vantage point.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. But that's like, this is the click in. I feel like this particular time, like why am I spent so much of my free time or gatekeeper time on this, bringing this particular union codes through is really because we're activating the planetary body and our own bodies in this new way. Even the two tetrahedrons they say they're spinning in opposite, but then they merge and they form this gold code and they spin together in all directions. It's not just like in or out.
Yeah, it's there's a multiplicity to it, right? Yeah. I mean, just like what I was trying to describe. And the other thing so when I did this thing 5 days ago, right, because it's 2, and I put Soulogy in there, and I put, because it was personal, but I knew it was collective. Like it seems like the last few weeks, no matter what I'm going through, and I hear other people saying it, that it feels obviously very personal. It's very intense. It doesn't last long, but it also feels very collective to me. But when I was given this, I was basically shown that we were halfway in and halfway out. Okay. let's see, how does this work? Yeah, halfway in, halfway out of being in the part of the Merkaba that contains everything. That space where they're both present, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was showing the masculine, feminine, could be Todd, could be Morgan, could be just energy, could be anything. We were half in and half out, and I didn't get it all at the time, but I started to understand based on what I was told, which was that okay, you in other words, it's a choice now, and the choice is yours to remain wherever you want in this field.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be all in the box or all out or partially in or what percentage in, and that was like a choice point. And I want to say that's how it's felt for me for the last few days, and what I've seen. It's been like I don't know, almost like coming out of the hurricane or something.
We had a hurricane, quite literally, moved through here recently.
That's right, you had a hurricane, didn't you?
Or it was tropical storm. But Denise asked a question. I did say gold codes. Denise Chadwick had asked, but that's just my take of it, of like that merging into this one golden being. So here's here's Earth. Can you hear that at all?
Yeah. Let me turn my mic.
It's more vibrational. It's not, I mean, these are, even if you were in the room with it, it would sound like really soft. So this is so if everyone wants to just chill for a sec, it's a lot of mental information too, right? So we have to get out of the brain stem.
Make sure you do the Earth one again. Okay. I'm going to turn my mic off so there's no interference.
Okay. Let's all close our eyes. Let's all go into, each of you, please, move into your own core, which is your hara, your soul center, just above your navel, in the center of your body. And connect your core to the planetary core, the earth core, and this will help. For the truth is that you and the planet are one. You are a reflection, a microcosm of the earth. And the earth exists through you, in you, as you. And let's connect to the core of Venus. And how you do that is just with a thought, an intention. I connect myself to the core of the planet Venus. Feel how different that is from the Earth body, your Venus body. Maybe you feel this too. There's a lot of magma flowing under the surface in that planetary body. Yeah. And now set your intention to connect with the core of the planet Mars, the energy spectrum of the planet Mars. And now bring Mars and Venus into your field and unify them. And I'll play the two sounds together. And we sit together in this merged state. We're inward and outward, terrestrial and celestial, Mars and Venus, influx, outflow, where they all exist in this 0 point, swirling vortex of stillness and unity. Then you can come back to planet Earth if you so desire. Oops, sorry for the loudness. Metal. Metal makes noise. How you feeling, Todd?
I feel great. That was a hell of a holy triad, wasn't it? So twice, I don't know why I started doing it. I just closed my eyes and then you make that cling, and then I didn't realize how that worked, right? And for some reason I just started toning. And 2 times that I toned, I think out of the 3 times, 2 times I hit the same note, like, and it sounded like all of a sudden I was in like quadraphonic sound, like the whole room just went a buzz, bzzz, and I was like, holy shit. No, that was cool. But this is part of the new way of communication, of transference, of teaching, of code exchange, of, I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah. It doesn't, there's some words there, but it's this is the real stuff. Cutting edge. Well, far out. I like hanging around with you. I hope you come down to Arkansas in September, and I'll follow you around and we'll film some of this. Because you mentioned grid work and such, grid line work and grid work. I don't think people really, well, I think there's a lot of different versions of that. Mm-hmm. And what's so amazing about grid work is, to me anyway, is that you don't see like a big article or post come out and say, hey, everybody, let's go do some grid work. Most everyone that I talk to that does grid work gets their own intel on where to go and what to do. And some of these people, it's like a daily thing. It's like a weekly thing, I think, like you.
Yeah, there's a lot of us in that. And the individual and soul callings is the direct tap into source, right? As you said, like, people don't like the putting out the calls of, like, because it's like what my role is to fill or my job is to do is very different than what another person. So sometimes we'll mention things, and then the people that are already hooked into that vibe or that role will like jump in and jump on. I'm really blessed to have lots of circles of different grid workers around the planet that I've connected to over the years through various groups or classes or different things. And there's a lot of us that will message each other, text each other, and like check in and help each other out. And it's like, oh, you're on that. And it's like, it's just fun to share and code exchange among grid keepers, grid workers, because we all have different things to do, but just hearing other people's sparkles, it creates the sparks in us. So that is one of the expanded roles that I have now, is to really work with people. So I do offer grid work and gatekeeping mentoring sessions, which are on my website too. I work with people one-on-one, and I'm in the process of launching more of a grid keeper and gatekeeper school, I'll put in quotes, like a place, living library of light to help people really unlock their own keys of doing grid work and gatekeeping.
Far out.
That's far out. The most exciting thing. Yeah. You know, it's like, how do you find, you ask me, like, how do you know this stuff? It's like, I've been training at it and more enhancing my skills, especially since 2016, for sure. And over the last few years. And like every year when you approach an alignment, you know, it's like, oh, this, you know, there's things, certain things happen in July, right? Where like certain gateways open, certain things happen in August. And then if you approach it with awareness year after year, you get these new layers of it. And it's it's like very exciting. But there is different. You asked that like way back. If like things happen, is it happening in a different? We should hope so, right? Because that's ascension. Like we want to go up
that
a
was
next
my
notch and go up.
Yeah, that was my point in like reflecting on what you were saying, or not my point, but the point I'm going to try to make. So, like, the thing about the last 10 years is a couple of years of consistent work is worth like 100 years pre 2012, something like that. But in the line of those years, in the 10, 12, whatever it is, some of these things that people have been doing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years consistently, and even a lot of the things that we experience just daily, we've come so far, we don't even think about what the let's just say the level of connection, or the level of communion, or the level of creativity, or the level of intuitiveness. Like we don't. I stop and think about it sometimes. I think, you know what? 10 years ago, you couldn't do this, and you didn't do that, and you didn't do this. Like, I try to go find oneness now. I can't find it because I'm there. And I don't mean that I'm there. I'm just saying I'm trying to draw a picture that I used to have to go through a lot of motions to make this happen and that happen and that happen.
Yeah.
But now it's just like, I'm sitting here, especially these last few days, and I'm going, there's nothing wrong. Like, everything's
oneness
great.
Is right there. It's like right
exactly
there.
right.
Well,
so
it's been interesting with the whole, because grid work and grid keeping evolves over time, just like we do. So that whole, thank goodness to our people that have gone on this path before us and did a lot of traveling and different sacred sites and unlocking key codes, and but in the last year and a half or 2 years, most of us have been stationary, right? Like the traveling. And so I think a lot of us were getting that impulse even before that happened, the planetary travel being less available. But there's like, you don't necessarily need to travel to sites. Yes, you might have like a soul piece that needs a connection there, or there's codes to unlock within you by being physically embodied at places. But we can do this more in a soul merge.
Yeah.
Like I say that sometimes, like, oh, I was working with whatever, this place in Mexico, or I was working in Arkansas, and people are like, what do you mean? Did you go there? I'm like, no, like you create a merged state where you're there, basically, in soul travel. But that a lot of that, we've been preparing for that, and it's come in really handy in the last 2 years, because most of us have been staying home, right?
You did go there, though.
Yeah,
right?
Well, yeah, you don't need to like go to the airport and travel or drive there. And sometimes you do, but a lot of this can be done because all the stargates, the grid work is within. It's like your body are the grid. Like you are, like we can dial it in now. And yes, it's fun. And for me, like I use a lot of different tools. The using of the stars in the sky and the planets, like all that's within too. But it's much more easy to access for our human minds, and we're learning. Right? It's so much easier.
I'm glad you brought that. I'm glad you brought that up. I want you to continue. I just want to drop this too because of the synchronicity. But there's been at least 2 or 3 times in the last week, whatever, the last 8 shows, 10 shows, and where people have mentioned what you just said about. So it's almost like saying going within's gone to another level, and I have at times when I lay down. You just have this second nature, and you look out there to start communicating. And I've been, inconsistently, but consistently over the last 3 or 4 days, starting inside. Like I go inside and I go, okay, what do I want to do today? And I pulled out certain aspects that I felt like, that had shown themselves to me in the past, and that I needed best in this moment. It was weird. It was this weird thing, but it was occurring in here. So there must be some reason that you said that and other people brought it up. That's a good sign too.
Yeah. Well, it's, it's not the place to start with necessarily, like a more big, I didn't say beginners, but it's just more tangible and accessible if you use tools that are outside your own self. Like knowing that you're merged with the universe and you can do all this in your own. That's like you said, an advanced, or it takes a lot of practice to like get to that place.
I don't know. I just know I'm 59 years old, and I just started really Because if you think about it's such a, and that's another thing that's coming in with more clarity for everyone. It's, and I hate to diminish it or make it sound diminished, but it's because I'm not, but it's an energy game. So if you just think about something as simple as you go down to you go to lay down in bed to connect. If you think about your energy and the emotions we go through, I don't know about y'all, but since I'm a little kid, I immediately put my hands together and I'm praying outward to this God with the white beard. And so that kind of, and even with a lot of the experiences that I've had and I've had with Morgan, there's been external apparitions and so on, but something is changing in that. And I'm not saying that it is easy to go start there. I don't know. I couldn't do it, but because I think there is a kind of a evolution of embodiment of those things that are presented to you that ultimately you understand are in you. But there does seem to be something in the water, I guess is what I'm saying, that if one person starts really, merging with that method or that consciousness or way or whatever, then another and another and another, that tells me that, the 100 monkey thing.
That's what I was just going to say. Thank you for saying it. Like it is. Yeah. It's like enough of us get that spark and then it unlocks the codes for the collective.
Right.
So you talked about the kid, and this wants to come through to be shared with people. But when I remember, it was more like a protective thing because my parents would fight at night a lot, like in my house. Yeah. But I remember as a young child, like under 5, I would in bed do this like, I would make this sound with my throat, and it just sort of like transport me like through space time. And then fast forward like 30 years later, I was doing some advanced teacher training in the yoga and the Vedas. And I read this book, The Splendor of Recognition. And it was these like ancient Vedic methods of star travel and different things. And it was like the same exact technique that I had used when I was like 3 in my bed. And it was just one of those, you have those moments of like, oh, like we've been training for this our whole lives.
Dude, you remember that JJ Hurtak was at the Soulogy Fest? And,
yes.
And I didn't really know, I knew the book, but I didn't know like their presentations involved this toning, but it's not like the toning I heard before. It's more like what you just did. And so when I'm at the Soulogy Fest and he's giving his presentation, I'm off on the side of the stage and he started doing something like kind of like this. He was like, oh, and whatever he did, and he did several of them. One of them he did, I'm like, I'm taken right back like you're talking about. I was like 5 years old, 4 years old, and I was making that noise. I'm like, what? And I had the same type of feeling like, oh yeah, so this is our, you know what I mean? Like light language. Like it's in there and it was there in the early days, right?
Yeah, it's primal.
Mm-hmm.
And
primordial.
It's access, and the sound codes are such a quick, direct way to transport oneself, right? Because it goes deep into your, I don't know, animalistic like gut brain, and
that's how I deal with pain when I was a kid.
Yeah,
or deal with pain or nausea, or just I would just start making weird noises.
Yeah.
That's just, it's the truth.
Cool.
Look, all these other people are saying they've been making that noise.
Yeah, that's cool. I've been reading that.
See, this whole time we just didn't tell people all the weird shit we were doing. If we had, we'd have ascended 20 years ago.
Well, here we are in the perfect time, doing it the perfect way.
Right on. Okay, so tones, and then you got the sound. Now you're okay. So, and I think we talked about this last time too, but just back over like with Eric Rankin and the Hurtaks, there was Ty and Jade with their music, the tones and the gongs and even just a keyboard, playing certain notes. There was like this whole connectivity of let's say color and shape and sound and vibration, right? And they were all talking about it. And I guess the short version of it is how this is like root root mystery school teachings or root ancient wisdom, like root methodologies, and it just seemed like everything was like kind of on a scale. You could almost see like the tetrahedron type of figure, with different scales all around it. And like you said, when it goes out, it's all over the place, right?
Yeah. So there's two, like how light or information conveys itself is through photons. And then there's another particle called phonons. So photons we're much more used to, or must hear more about. Photons are like the codes of light, the light as information, as quantum packet. Phonons are the constructs of the sound code. It's like the quantum particle of sound. Wow. As the photon is the quantum particle of light. And it's everything. It's like information has a geometry, a sound, a color, the shape, the essence. And so each person has a different sense or clair that like get information through. So some people hear, some people see, some people vibe and feel it in their bodies. And the information is like, it's when we say multidimensional, it's light and sound and energy. It's all one in the packet. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes perfect sense. I mean, like when I think about a lot of my faint, some not so faint, but mostly faint, like glimpses and flashes of, I would just say like creation, right? Like creative energy. It's always that way. It's always like with a color, or mostly it's a sound.
Mm-hmm.
Like
mine
that,
too. Yeah.
Or, like that type of sound. So that's weird that's coming back. It's weird because it's like when I hear something like that, it can bring an equilibrium really easy. And the other thing is, it feels like there's a concentrated amount of information coming in, as opposed to like we're having a conversation. It's like 10 sound bites a minute. And then if it comes in a tone, it's like massive, right? I mean, it's just massive.
Everything. Yeah. As you said that, I was like, maybe part of that, like the primal thing is like when we were in the womb, I wonder if that's how the whole world sounded, through the water. And like the whales too. The whales want to come in for this part of the conversation. It's like the whales and how they work with the planetary energy grids. They're really active and, they're always active, but I think we're tuning into their role more this year than ever. And that sound of like underwater primal transmission, it moves right to the soul. And it is that like creation space, womby chamber, like,
there's something about being under the water too, like under the water and like really deep, and you're there's nothing impeding you, and you almost wish like you could just be down there and not have to go up for air. There's something about like what you were just saying, like the way sound filters in, and even light filters in, right? It's a whole different kind of environment. And I remember having a download, I don't even know what you would call it, a download or whatever. And this was a long time ago. And I'm talking like 7-8 years ago. Well, I was seeing, I guess it was creative energy. It was like showing me how it worked. Not that I understood it, because I didn't, but it was the sound and the light and waves, right? It was like kind of like a gong type of whatever that would be, resonance / vibration / tone. And the way it was shown to me was like, okay, this is how it works. And then this is how it works on the earth. Right. And then it said it has all these elements, and then there is the word. It's kind of how they laid it out. And I went, oh, that's trippy. So the word is, and I understood when they said the word, it was spoken word.
That's in the Vedas. That's the nod. NAD.
The nod.
Like it's the creative. It's like in the beginning there was the word.
Like abracadabra kind of thing. Right. I mean, like,
well, it's from the ether, from that space of creation, the sound current.
Okay.
Is the leading edge, if you will, of the creation,
okay,
coming down into primal or embodied form.
Yeah, I like that.
This is fun, Todd. Thanks for having me on today.
God, I'm just, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing, Julie. I mean, I swear on most of these shows, 4 or 5 times I'm going to break into tears. Like, I just feel like, well, I know I'm supposed to get on here, and I don't want to, but I'm not going to argue. But here's the thing: there's something in me that tells me that, and I know it sounds, everyone's doing it. I know that sounds like, oh, I'm just going to put a big blanket over everything. That covers everything, right? But everybody's doing it. I mean, I'm not saying everybody's having, to hold back tears, but there is just this amplification. And I guess maybe it had something to do here in more recent days with this serious thing, because that always seems to be a serious thing, right? And now you have the Mars-Venus conjunction, and the way you explained it, it sounds that when you said the word click, like that did it right there for me. That was like, okay, that's it. And it was like a click, and I just see like a unity click, like everything is in place, almost like the gears in a clock, and a grandfather clock, and it went click, and then everything started to turn, right?
Yes, I know. I was for the Freedom Codes and the 4th of July weekend, and that work. It was very interesting to me that the Venus beehive thing was on July 3rd, and there was so much.
Oh yeah,
it's like I was actually stationed at the base of the clock tower in Boston. My husband and I. So our wedding anniversary is July 2nd, and I was planning this trip for us, and I was like, I could really feel that, the Freedom Codes. It's that completion of a lot of the work that I did July 2019. And it actually happened in the Boston corridor too. And anyway, so we were planning our trip, and I booked us this houseboat that was in the Boston Harbor to stay on. And it was cool, but it was like more houseboaty than, usual. As we shipped the kids off to my mom's house, which is like, we haven't been away.
Sexy baby.
That's Freedom Codes right there. Like, goodbye. But then we get on this houseboat, and we had this huge storm where they had like these giant swells. We get 2 inches of rain just overnight. It was just, maybe that's not a lot, but it was a lot. So my husband woke up in the middle of the night, and the houseboat was leaking, and it was like, everything was soggy. And we were like, it woke us up some nights, because it was like this. It was like, okay. And we had the Freedom Codes for me were convincing my husband that we could move, and we didn't have to like tough it out like good Yankee, like, we paid for this place, it'll be fine. I was like, this is our one time to go away since our 6-year-old we haven't been away since she was born. I was like, we're not sleeping in a soggy bed middle. So anyway, I found this new spot for us, which was it was on State Street in the center of Boston. And it was right at the base of the clock tower, if people are familiar with that. And it was like, oh my God, we were just like this brilliant, the only thing available on Airbnb, the Airbnb magic when you're supposed to be stationed at a certain spot. And then we could look down, we could come out of our condo and look down the street, and the old State House was there so on July 4th, that morning at 10 a.m., they read the Declaration of Independence off the balcony where it was originally read, July 18th, 1776. Wow. And the energy of it, I didn't even realize that the mayor of Boston is now a Black woman. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's up there. And there's like, it was this like cultural diverse, and I'm not always so much with the patriotic stuff, but like it was just like the codes of it goes back to what you and Hung and I were talking about that whole. So these Freedom Codes are broadcast in the Declaration of Independence. It was a really moving, like I was in tears like at least 5 times. I was like, what's happening? Why is this so moving? But it was just really like that foundation thing. But then working with the dichotomy of, okay, the gentleman who wrote this is a slave owner, and we're on this land where they slaughtered the indigenous people to get their land. And like, how does one equate all that? Like, how does that make sense? And in that broadcast at that time, I was like, oh, these founding fathers laid these seeds. Like they had some of it right, at least. Yes, maybe their plantations were built off the backs of slaves, but they had like this nugget, and it's our job to to build on that foundation and to build it better and better and more light encoded.
I mean, I think that there's a pretty significant part of the matrix that's crumbling that was held up by a moral world, an ethical world. But I think everybody's situation is their level, whatever that means in terms of the moral and the ethical. Is it even relevant at a certain vantage point? But that those things kind of hold up that old matrix because there's such a wild variety of opinion and of what is moral, what is ethical. But I think you're right. I believed, and even some of the people we look at today, if you look at some of these people today in this corrupt political system, there's a significant, I mean, a lot of people will think, oh, they're just assholes. They're reptilians, or they're this or they're that, but they put their shoes on just like we do. And in proportion to what they're aware of, they think they're doing the right thing. Right?
Well, that's just, I was just going to say, in that polarity, like finding the unity codes in now, it's like everyone is actually doing their best in what they think is the right thing. Right. And just because we have drastically different views of what that should be on lots of different fronts right now, it's still, the path is to the live and let live, and you get, the freedom of choice, and you get to live your life the way your soul dictates, and I should do that too. And we just hold space for each other. Like that's
no, I agree. It's, I mean, it's I mean, this is like, and it's almost like a Stockholm syndrome type of thing. Because here we are talking about a document from a country, which is already really, I mean, if we're moving into this state, as you describe, where there's not a masculine and feminine, and we're talking energetics first, right? I mean, that means the physicality is going to follow. That means that there's no separation, there's no duality. So the sooner we get rid of these borders in these countries and everything, you know what I mean? Like I don't even know what that's going to look like. Is there going to be a split? Is it, I mean, I don't know. It's just trippy, but I can really see in your experience where one thing I've always found true is that no matter what it is, even if it's the darkest, grimiest trauma experience, there's always a thread of truth and light. And you were plugged into the better angels that created that moment, be it past, present, future.
And the better angels. It's a good way to say it.
I want to ask you a question. I know I've asked you before. So what does your husband think of you? What does he think of your work? I mean, is he one of those husbands? Because I've heard several women tell me this over the years on the show. My husband's not in these circles, and he's awake, but he doesn't know it. He just kind of has it. He just kind of got it. And then as far as like looking at what you do, they just kind of like, okay, that's my weird wife.
Well, that's a great, that's a fun, great way to talk about the merging. So my husband is so supportive, but also not, this isn't his thing at all. And, he supports me awesome. And it was funny that on this trip, so I didn't, I don't say like, oh, honey, I'm dovetailing our anniversary into a grid working trip. Like I just kind of plan it and we do it. And he's like, sure, we'll go to Boston. It's great. But I did, so that the first night we were there on the houseboat, we went out to dinner, and I started to tell him a little bit about what I was doing also, in addition to celebrating with him. And I got about 5 minutes in and he was like, okay. And he like changed the subject, but like, it was all he could take. He's like, oh, that sounds good. Like, but it was really funny. I was like, oh dude, I've only begun to scratch the surface. Does he read my blogs? Is he going to watch this show? Absolutely not. But is he like, have a great time on Soulogy and tell, like,
but but it's just, it's intriguing. It's intriguing.
But so this is my moment so I brought this Dhara team with me. I don't know. It's my light in here is not that great, but they're the red, white, and blue and green, which is the plasma and the Freedom Code. So I brought these all over Boston with me and in different places. And one of the things that happened also is the Constitution is the old Ironsides of the ship. It's like the oldest warship that's still floating, which that like the codes to like, deconstruct off that were big, but that was happening at the same time on this 4th of July. The Boston is very, all this stuff's happening there. But I was doing stuff and holding them up with the harbor and doing some things. And then it rained and rained and rained. So we were like kind of dodging raindrops and with our like slickers and things. But there was a moment where I was like, we're on Long Wharf and there was crowds there because it was the like 21 gun salute, the Constitution, blah, blah, blah. All the tourists were there. But then everybody cleared out partially because of the rain. And we had this place to ourselves. And there's like the Compass Rose, the north, south, east, west was there and the Long Wharf. I'll put a picture in this comments. And I was like, oh, I should put these on the north, south, east, west points. And I was like, I had a moment of like lazy. I had just put them all away. I like my phone was almost out of battery. He was like, no, he's like really encouraging. He's like, come on, let's do it. He's like, I'll take the picture. You put him out. And I was like, oh my God, he's helping me do a crystal grid thing. Never. It was like so encouraging. So it was a big shift too in like, it sounds like a little thing, but it was a huge thing of like him encouraging me to like, and
even his participation, like to that extent, energetically, that says a lot. She's frozen again. Huh. We have another show when do we have another show? We have another show in 2 hours and 45 minutes. I thought I would get on in between these two shows today, but I think I'm going to have to go lay down and then maybe I'll get up in 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I think that's her. Yeah, that's her. She's frozen. Hey, I love her. She's beautiful. She's real. She's the future.
I'm still here. I was here. Like every time I get to the juicy things, I freeze up, huh?
It's not you. It's the frequency. I'm telling you, it's been happening. Yeah. It's happened before, but I mean, it's really been happening a lot since Soulogy.
Like he opened up to some of my work more this last weekend than he has ever. Which was cool. Well, but what does he think of me? He's like, he doesn't necessarily think I'm a kook, but he's not like into it all either.
Well, I guarantee you, he knows you're extremely intelligent. And
so he's a math professor at a college here, and his PhD and his thesis work was in celestial mechanics. So his thing is like to do the math behind orbiting spaceships. So like we can talk on that level and some of it, and I'm like, oh my God, it's 9:45. Like the other night we've had storm after storm after storm here. And the other night I had to like run out and go try to see Mars and Venus because the clouds parted. And I knew that like all these nights that, I could be able to see it tonight, but we're in full cloud cover. But I'm like, I gotta go. It's like 9:45 at night. And he's like, okay, have fun, honey.
That's what I was gonna say. Just the fact that he was helping you from whether it was conscious or unconscious, you know what I mean? I mean, you can be conscious. He consciously wanted to do that, but at an unconscious level, that was like an energetic imprint, right? I mean, that was like a throwing in with you or a further alignment or a higher alignment. Yeah,
it was great. So, and then I, drug him to all kinds of, he was fine to do the Freedom Trail, but we walked the Freedom Trail and we went to cemetery after cemetery, he's like, all right, honey, like, what are we doing now? I'm like, come on, like he's a good sport.
So he just goes to the cemeteries with you and wherever you're going to take him.
Well, yeah. He's like,
are you doing the grid work? I mean, are you having to like consciously speak things in your head, or are you just going there with your intention and that takes care of it?
But it depends on the situation.
Yeah, that was a dumb question. Yeah. Like you might bury crystals or
I bring things and we can all do it just by being there and with our intention. And sometimes it's fun to like, place things in talisman ways, and like talismans always help, they're more tangible, but it's not necessary, but it's fun. I find it fun. So, but I wasn't like toning at the top of my lungs when there were 400 tourists.
Has he ever like caught you doing anything? Then he just goes, okay. Like talking to your crystals or burying crystals.
Kind of used to it by now, I think.
He is.
Like he's like, even like he gets it like on the back porch. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I do, I don't know if I'm also a steward for Andaras. So I do sell them and pass them on to other guardians. So as they activate, like my back porch is our activation station, and some of them will spend a year or two or months or whatever out there gridding, and he's very respectful of it. Like he doesn't get it, but he thinks they're beautiful. But he's like, oh honey, I had to move one. Like sometimes he'll use them to like put towels on to dry them after they've gone to the beach or something. And I'm like, honey, that's like $900 that rock you just used to, whatever.
Oh, that's the way to explain it. Instead of saying that's an Andorra crystal, it has a certain
But he's cool. Like he thinks it's not his thing, but he supports me and my thing.
No, I think I actually think it's probably, much more doable in a lot of respects than say like Morgan and me, right? Where we're both in the game and it's just like, it's, you know what I mean? But
yeah. Well, it's more, I've heard that from my other friends who are both active, in the Ascension game and Lightworking game and all that. It's like, because then whose upgrades take front seat. Right? Like you both have to because you're both going through it. And not that he's not going through his upgrades, but it's not his main focus.
Well, but I mean, in the fact that he is an intellectual, he's got a scientific mind. I mean, that's got to be stimulating for you. So that at that level, at that, what I want to say, like the non-physical level, there's got to be a strength there. There has to be. Like you're feeding him, he's feeding you. I mean, there's no question.
I know we just celebrated our 15-year wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
That's a long time.
Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary.
I know, similar to yours. So last summer, we do go to a beach vacation every summer. And last summer, I was doing a lot of coding work at the beach at this certain broadcast station. It's a Marconi wireless station. It's the first, the transatlantic cable.
How do you find these things? How do you know about all this?
Yeah, but the transatlantic cable, the first shore to shore, Europe to United States broadcast. Anyway, I was there and I went every sunrise for a bunch of days with my Andaras and did a bunch of light work. And then one of the mornings we went and there was this pod of whales that came and they don't usually come this close to shore, but there was a whole bunch of them with their heads up and they're and he had one of those moments where he was like, honey, why are they coming right here? What are the chances of them coming here where you're doing good work? Now, I'm not going to I'm humble enough to know that I'm not calling in whales, but maybe, he was like, honey, what? He really had one of those moments. And he said to me out loud, he's like, maybe there's something to all this grid work stuff that you do. Maybe it's real. Maybe it really works.
Yeah. Hello. Hell,
okay,
I'm in the game. I'm in the game 10 years, and it took me a long time to accept stuff like that. We had those dolphins come up to us in 2019. I called it. It was probably the first time I knew, and I didn't go, oh, well, that's a coincidence. But yeah, I think it's easier for the women because they've got that intuitiveness, And the other thing about a woman, a feminine energy that's in their power, in that aspect of their experience, say they're going to do what they're going to do, and they're not going to think twice about it. You know what I mean? If for you, your work is you, basically, it's part of you.
Yeah,
and then that's understandable.
Yeah, there's not turning on and turning off the grid work. It's not like, oh, sometimes I'm grid working and sometimes I'm not. It's just like,
well, they were probably expecting you too. That would be
the whale. We're gonna loop back to Sirius, and you were talking about the merging the Sirius codes. So the Sirius is at least 2 stars. Some say 3, right? And the Sirius codes on July the 7/7 date. A couple of my Andaras on the back porch just shone in this brilliant blue white light, and I just got this how do you get these transmissions? You just hear things, feel things, things pop into your field, right? For all of us. And it was a Sirius B. I was like, okay, and I took some pictures of it, and then I've been unpacking that this week too, which will have to be a separate. It's maybe I'm luckily enough to get to come on at the end of July with you too, so maybe we'll talk about that. But there's the whales, there's a really strong water world Cedian whale consciousness that comes from the Sirius B, and that's part of the stuff that the Metatron sharing. I found it yesterday, the link, and I was like, oh, it's shown to me in my field, but I was like, I don't quite get how Sirius B and the whales and like how all that's happening. And, you know, your human brain doesn't understand all of it, but then you'll get one of these link connection pieces. So I'm going to write it up, and it's not quite ready to be shared, but there's a thing about, you know, in the Dogon tribe in Africa and the whole, like the water world and the Nomo and the like.
No, to me, the Sirius is, well, first of all, it's definitely tied to blue, that bluish. In fact, that thing I was telling you about that happened yesterday with me and my friend, it was blue. It was the blue. Try, you know, spinning. Yes, that's very cool. I like that.
I know. I think I need to send you some on Dhara's time.
I would like to have that one. No,
right.
don't. I'm kidding.
No.
Don't send me anything. If you come, then you bring one.
All right.
But what were we talking about? Oh my God!
The blue, your friend, the blue thing.
Serious. Oh yeah. No. There's always been a link that I understood. I call them the people of the deep, the people of the deep blue. Like there's this. Yes. Okay. Like there's some type of link there. And I've met other people who either coming from one direction or the other have been to the place that I'm talking about, which maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's underwater Atlantis or whatever. Who cares what it's called? But it's there's, I was going to ask you, does Sirius, okay, what happened between the 7th and the 11th, that period, that happens once a year, right? Sirius comes.
Well, it's yes.
Okay.
So we kind of celebrate two. A lot of the things we celebrate as a team is like the 7/7 thing is really, if we have to go back to ancient Egypt to when that alignment was actually July 7th. You know, there's a code, like there's a repetition of people celebrating on that day. So the 7/7 gets tied to Sirius. But if we're actually going to be more astronomically accurate for now, it's actually July 18th when the sun and Sirius are close together here because of the precession of the equinoxes.
Well, so, the only reason that I'm bringing that up is because it was the 6th. It was the 6th. I put it, and it came on my memories. It was 10 years ago. I put it. And I was about to go homeless, right? So I put a post up, blah blah blah, out, and I saw it come up, and I thought, holy shit! I didn't realize that was on a gateway. It was on 7/7. So then I started looking at everything that was happening 10 years ago. And I brought in all the energy. I'm like, holy shit, look what's happening now. And I saw all these similarities. And then it took me through this whole process. And I know, you know, the Sirius energy was involved, or whatever you want to call it, Sirius consciousness or energy complex. And it was just showing me how it's not, it's the spiral, right? You know, it's the spiral. So it's the same energy. And like having gone through the spirals before, when you go back through it again, then you pay. I guess you're more sensitive to the energy that's present versus going into the way you reacted last time, or what your response was last time, or what your energy was last time. It's less of a antagonistic or combative type of traumatic situation. It's got more, and I think that's what you were talking about in the movements and positions of the celestial bodies at the beginning of the show. You were basically, I think you were saying or alluding to being able to basically work in conjunction with them.
Yeah. Is it? I don't know if this answers you exactly, but I'm going to give an example. So the Sirius codes, and we'll like tie it back into the United States and the Declaration of Independence thing. It's said that, so one of the gateways, one of the stargates is when the planet or the star rises at the same time as the sun. Like they're both on the eastern horizon at the same time. Mm-hmm. So Sirius and the sun rise at the same time. It's called the cosmic rising. And it supposedly, and I tried to go back and verify, it's close enough, but on the July 4th, 1776, Sirius and the sun, why do they call like July 4th, July 7th, the gateway? That's what I meant, like back in antiquity or back in the early BC, like Sirius and the sun rose. It's in the 200 BCs, like at the same time on July 4th. So that was coded in the Egyptian way. And then, but there's something also, the alignment, it says like the birth star of the United States is a Sirius coding with so it's just interesting how those all play out, and you know, the power. But
I really feel like, I really feel like this whole lineage thing, I see it as like, it's the story. Is it important or is it not important? But aside from that, I look at it like it's coming in. Like these links are coming in. Like let's say there's a link, Sirius, Hopi, Blue Kachina,
right.
People of the Deep Blue, and just keeps going, right? I mean, there's like something.
To me, the Blu-ray is a wormhole, a travel corridor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where you can unpack William Henry's ascension work and his light body and the Watchers, the Galactic Watchers, and the Blu-ray.
Are you talking about William Henry, the contemporary guy?
Yeah,
he's supposed to come on the show. I was supposed to have him on last month, right when I get back from Sedona. Thank you for reminding me.
His work. So
I've seen some of his stuff. Yeah, I just didn't know if you were talking about. He goes
through the artwork and the ancient. He'll show like the pictures of Jesus always have this like blue halo around, and like to me,
Jesus was a Syrian man. He was. So
the Blu-ray is very strongly associated with the Sirius energy, but to me, it's like Blu-ray is like a travel ray or travel corridor, like through time and space. Yeah, but that's a whole nother fun thing. But the whales are tied into it.
Yeah, the whales, the dolphins. I don't know. It just seems like another one that was coming in. I just stumbled across a video yesterday, and I actually posted it on my page because it was pretty impressive to me for anyone who wants to process stuff. And I even put, this is a good video to listen to connect the dots. And that's what I'm talking about. It seems like the dots are being connected. So I ran into a video yesterday, and it was a guy doing a dissertation on the law of one, which I wouldn't have listened to because I've listened to it or read it or enough of it to get the gist of it. But he was connecting it to Edgar Cayce. Mm-hmm. Right. So Edgar Cayce had I don't think I'm gonna get the numbers right. A lot. I'm talking like hundreds, probably over 1,000 different sessions where people were talking about the children. They were talking about the law of one. I want to say there was 2,000 sessions where they were talking about the law of one. There was 1,500 sessions of the 2,000 where they specifically talked about the children of the law of one, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then it brought in all this Egyptian stuff. And of course, it was connected to the stars, right? And so for me, I was sitting there listening to it and I thought, this is connecting a lot of dots. Like you can see the trail, right? You can see and I think that just from an energetic standpoint, even though it may not be like, oh, I learned this, let me take a test and I'll pass it. But I think if that information, as that information comes online for people, that's going to open up all kinds of space. It's just like everything parallels, right?
So one of the ways that I'm coding and making some of the information accessible is I have an online course platform through Thinkific right now. So I have a bunch of things that are free on there and people can get to it on my website. But in these gateways, I'm being shown or called to share more, I don't say visibly, but like share some of this in how you put the puzzle pieces together. So it's like hard to as opposed to just on my Facebook wall. But I have a lot of things, and I'll have one up on the Beehive I'm working on soon. I have a course. Some of them are paid courses, and most of them are free shareware. But that, with a lot of the articles that I read, and how do you put all the source information together? So if people are interested in exploring a little bit more of stargates, gatekeeping, grid work, grid keeping, working with your light body, Merkaba activation, a lot of that
work
stuff.
With the kids in the car. And your kids
to get it done, man.
Yeah, your kids are plugged in, man. That's for fun.
They are. Well, my son's now 12, so where he used to do this stuff with me in a fun way. Now it's the eye roll. Mommy's a freak. I want to see crystals, which is fine.
Yeah, I had Valerie Elsner was on yesterday, and she has a 12-year-old, and she was talking about the same thing. Same thing happened with her. Now she's in that category of parents are stupid. They don't know anything.
Which is good.
But hey,
3:33 is a good time for us to
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you got to go. Yeah.
No, it's all right. Yeah, but I could talk to you forever, Todd. It's so fun. Thank you.
I'm just going to go lay down, I'm going to go lay down.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to all the mothers that have a teenager or children in the house who are doing the things that you do and serving, because that's anchoring. That's anchoring too. Can't forget that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I love you. Thank you. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, everybody.
Hope to see you twice a month here,
Yay.
Just might as well put you on the spot.
Yeah, I'll do it. I love it. Thanks, Todd.
Yeah, thank you. And best to your family and your husband. Poor guy. I'll pray for him.
And more, yeah.
Darren. What's his name? Darren?
Gareth.
Samantha? No, I'm kidding. It was a joke.
His name's Gareth. Yeah.
Gareth. Okay. So, I'll see you later. Take care. Peace out. Be back in 3 hours.